Hey, what's going on, guys? It's BrainBean here again, and today we're going to be taking a look at a controller, which is something that's probably a little unusual for this channel. But we're going to be looking at the Razer Wolverine Tournament Edition, and the reason we're doing that is Razer sent me one of their Wolverine Tournament Edition controllers for a different video that's going to be coming sometime here in the future. But with Monster Hunter World just coming out about a week or so ago, and I am shamelessly addicted to that game. I absolutely love it. And I thought, what better way to test this controller out and put it through its paces than to play it on a controller-heavy game. And I've got about 50 or so hours into that game exclusively using the Wolverine Tournament Edition. So I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on it and kind of let you know from a PC gamer's perspective if it's worth picking up or not. So to start things off and to talk about this controller and how it differs from the standard Xbox controller, overall feel, design, and size are about the same. The Wolverine is a little bit slimmer in its design. It's not as bulky looking, but the way it feels in your hands is pretty much the same as it is on the Xbox controller. The triggers are designed a little bit differently. They give you a little bit easier access to the bumpers and the triggers themselves, which is nice. And I also really like that the directional pad is not all one piece. So each arrow key is separate, which makes it, nice to where you can have exact inputs and not accidentally hit the wrong one because they're all attached there. It's also got a nice little tactile feedback there as well. And the actual buttons themselves are clicky. So they'll be just like the Razer Green Switch if you're a fan of that and you like to hear the click as well as kind of feel that feedback as well, then you'll really like these keys. That did take me a little getting used to. I did think the click was a little bit weird for a controller, but once you get used to it, I don't even notice the sound anymore. The key press on them though is a little bit heavier than the standard Xbox controller. It's much easier to push down the keys, I think, than using the clicky ones on the Razer Wolverine. You'll also notice one of the big things with this controller is that it does have 4 extra triggers on it, and it's got 2 down here in the back. And they're all placed in a really nice, easy to reach spot. And you've also got 2 additional bumpers here on the insides as well. And these can all be mapped to different keys, although they're only going to be mapped to different controller functions. And the reason for that is because this is designed for tournament use. So you can't go and put macros on it or anything that's going to give you an unfair advantage. Now, this kind of brings me into my first big point of reviewing this from a PC gamer's perspective, because for playing something like Monster Hunter, I really wanted to be able to bind these keys to different keys on the keyboard so that I could use certain items just with the click of one of these hot buttons. And unfortunately, that's not something you can do. Another thing that's really important for you to know right off the bat is that this controller will use Razer Synapse for Xbox, not Razer Synapse 3 on the PC. So you can download the Xbox version from the Windows Microsoft Store and install it on your computer. But another thing that means is that the lights, the little light bar on the Wolverine will not sync up to any of your PC peripherals. So if you have a effect that's running through all of your chroma gear, it will not sync with the controller because the controller was primarily designed for use with consoles. And so that's why you have to download a separate Synapse program just to bind and use this controller. Some other things you can do in Synapse aside from binding the buttons as well as changing the lighting modes is you can also adjust how sensitive the triggers are as well as the degree of vibration that the controller gives you for feedback. The lighting options are pretty cool with this controller. You have kind of the standard chroma fare with the wave effects. You've got spectrum cycling, reactive, which is actually pretty cool with the controller because every time you click one of the buttons, you'll get a flash, which is nice. It's also got these little triggers here on the back as well, where you can change the actuation point of the actual triggers. So if you're playing a first-person shooter and you don't want to take the time to fully extend down the trigger to register a shot, you can make it much more sensitive to where just any minor touch of the switch will activate it and make you that much faster. But in reviewing this from a PC gamer's perspective, when playing something like Monster Hunter, one thing that kind of bothered me is because you can't really bind any of these extra bumpers to anything other than just the X, Y, A, and B, I find that I accidentally hit it quite a bit, especially on these ones here on the bottom. And default, one of them is roll, and then the other one I think is B. But I find that as I'm running around, if I accidentally click it, because they are pretty sensitive, then my character goes and does a roll or something like that. So with the limited customizability with the PC especially, I feel like going for a controller like this just for the extra buttons really isn't all that worth it. But there are a few things that if you do like to play on a controller might give you some advantage, like using the triggers, for example, or being able to just have a little bit more adjustments overall of the device. Now, obviously, PC is not really meant to be a controller heavy console or system really. It's all mouse and keyboard. Obviously that's the best way to play games. That's the only way I've played games for years and years and years. But obviously some games like Dark Souls and Monster Hunter are just much better suited to playing with a controller. But I feel like unless you just really like the controller experience and you really want to have, you know, a little bit more customizability, you want to have the lights, you want to have some extra features, then it might be worth spending the $120 to get this controller. But if you're more of a PC gamer that just casually plays a few games here and there, like Dark Souls, like in Monster Hunter World, like I do, I feel like just having the standard Xbox controller is going to be more than enough for you there. A couple other additional things is the Wolverine Tournament Edition does have a removable cable, like all Razer Tournament Edition devices do, obviously meant for taking with you on the go and not damaging the cable. I mean, I feel like this controller would be a good buy for somebody who does play a lot of console. For an Xbox user, then I could see this being a huge advantage. It is a quality peripheral, but again, reviewing it more from the PC standpoint, unless you guys see some things here that, you know, really pique your interest, just not sure if it's really worth all the money. A couple of other minor things to point out here. You do have the combined 3.5mm jack for a headset, and you can use that with like the Razer Kraken or something like that. And it also does have a nice textured grip as well, which is a nice thing to have from the standard just slick non-textured Xbox controller, because it does help grip it a little bit like when you're playing and things are getting kind of sweaty. Anyways, guys, that's it for this review of the Razer Wolverine Tournament Edition. Again, I just wanted to give you guys my perspective as a primarily PC gamer that does use a controller here and there for a couple of games. Thought I'd give it a go and let you guys know what I thought. But I want to know what you guys think as well. So let me know down in the comments below what you think about the Wolverine controller. And also, if you're new here, I'd love to see you subscribe, as I've got a lot more videos like this coming for you in the near future. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, then give it a big like to show your support. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at BrainBeanGaming. Well, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.